Start that thing you wanted to start a year ago. Take it in baby steps. Reinvention doesn't happen overnight, but the actions do. The actions start right here, right now. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Limitless conversation. Welcome back, or welcome back. I am your host, Sean, and it is our finale. Oh my gosh. I won't lie. Before this episode, I want to say thank you so much for following this journey with me. It has taken a lot of vulnerability for me. It has taken a lot of releasing of wanting to be perfect and perfectionism, especially in even how it's presented. And, as the videos age and time goes by, I like look at them and I'm like, wow, I would have did this different, or I could have said this better. And that's the thing about evolution, is that you're always going to want to change something that you've done previously because you've grown since you've done it. And so this is huge for me to just allow myself to put out the content that was real and raw in that moment, because in that moment it was that special and I can never discount that. Um so yeah. So if you guys are new here on this podcast, I talk all things about understanding your limits, or where you perceive yourself to be limited, where you believe that you are limited, understanding those limits so that you can bust right through that illusion and be your best limitless self. I talk a lot about my personal journey as just a human here on earth like you. And the beautiful thing is that we all can relate to one another. Like, my journey is not just my journey, it's your journey, it's your friend's journey, it's your mom's journey. Like, we all share a lot of similar aspects in our journey. How they're expressed might be different. The extremes of them might be different, but the actual core of it is the same, right? And it's all about being empowered through all of the things that are around us that would ideally disempower us, right? So what better way to end this season off by coming back to the moment that started it all? Reinvention of self. I was sitting today and I'm moving out of my place. This is literally my day before my last day in my first ever apartment. And you guys have followed my journey of my apartment and forgiving myself and all that kind of stuff, right? And so here we are, 2 days before I move out of here, closing out this chapter, beginning a new chapter here, this podcast, beginning a new part of my life. And this all started because of a reinvention that I had to go through. And I was sitting today like, what do I want to talk about in the finale? Normally things happen and they inspire me. But this was the first time that I intentionally had to think about what I want to sit down and talk about today, because I knew that I had to shoot this episode before I moved out, because like, I'm not going to film a whole podcast in one location and then change locations for the very last episode. That's just like, the brander and the aesthetic in me just can't do that. So I'm like, I need an episode for today. So I sat down and I started watching some TED Talks, things that would spark me, right? I always talk about how it's important that I even listen to other people's content and talk about their journeys, because they ignite information in me. That's really how I truly believe that this thing works a lot. Is we see something, we hear something, we interact with something, and it ignites a knowledge within us that already exists but was dormant. And so I was like, let me listen to some TED Talks today. Let me see if I can get the juices flowing, if something will come to me. And like, the first TED Talk that I came across was a TED Talk talking about reinventing yourself. And I listened to what she had to say about her, about the conversation. And I was like, you know what? I remember when I had this conversation with myself the summer of 2022. And like I say, every episode starts off with the story, and this one is no different. Okay, and I actually didn't even read my previous journal entry because I wanted this to be really real. I wanted to drop back into this moment because this message is so impactful, and it was for me, and I hope that it is for you, because I want you to leave this episode knowing that you can reinvent at any moment. You don't have to hold on to any title. And it's funny, I was talking to my cousin about this conversation yesterday before I even saw the TED Talk. You don't have to hold on to titles that other people have given you. You don't have to hold on to those things. And so that's kind of where it started for me. And so I'm going to share this story. I remember it was, I was with my friends. We were at an event. And me and my friend left the event. We were kind of like, as girls, like, we kind of recap the event. We kind of recap things that happened or whatever. And I remember my friend saying to me, she felt like I was like, she's like, you like, in so many words, and she said it probably nicer than I'm about to say it, but basically how I heard it was, you need to work on your social skills. You know what I mean? Like, you're not really that good at like incorporating other people in conversations and doing like that. And when she said that, it really struck me, and it made me really begin to sit with a lot of things, a lot of how I had been defined, a lot of how I had been perceived, and and then what's funny is even a few weeks later after this, one of my friends was describing me, and she described me as shy and quiet. And that is a title that I had honestly held on for a very long time. I'd always said, I'm shy, I'm quiet, and very to myself, and so forth and so on. And what's funny is that people would say that about me who didn't know me, but the people who knew me was like, child, Sean, don't shut up. Like, Sean could talk, she can go. And so I realized that I was hiding a lot of me from the world. And a lot of it was about like my I wouldn't even say it was my confidence, because I was always pretty confident in who I was, or in who I am. But I believe it was just more really and truly a title that I had gotten as a child that I had just held on to, and that I had allowed to define me. And so when me and my friend had this conversation, it really made me throw myself into my journal and really dissect if this was actually ever true about me, and then if I wanted to continue this narrative. So I decided that I didn't want to. I decided that this title that I had been holding had been a title that kept me back from really and truly shining my light on the world, in the world, in my life, as I wanted to, as I had always wanted to. I even noticed within my friend group, there were spaces where we kind of like defined who each of us was within the group. And what that kind of did, I think I won't speak for everyone. I think what that does sometimes when you do that, though, is it makes people feel like they have to stay in a box. It makes them feel like this is my lane, this is my role to play, and I must stay in this role, and I cannot go into other roles, right? Um, but the beautiful thing is that that's not true. You can be all of it. You can primarily operate in some spaces, but you can be all of it. And so I was always considered the quiet friend. My other friend was considered the mean friend. And my other friend was considered more like the outspoken, like bubbly friend, right? Or not necessarily bubbly, but just like the more like spoken one who like just will talk to random people. And so I was kind of just like, you know what? I'm really like, I think energetically the shift happened first, where I said I don't want to be quiet anymore. I don't want to be defined as quiet and shy anymore. And people perceiving me as timid. I know the kind of woman I want to be, and the kind of woman that I want to be. She's confident. She walks in rooms with her head held high. Her aura speaks. Like, when you see her, you see the pureness and the sweetness of her soul, but you also know she's so sweet. She's God's favor, and you cannot fuck with her, right? She also has this contagious like smile, and she shares her kindness with people because the world needs more of it. I'm also adding in, at this point in my life, she's about her business. Things are not personal when it comes to what she needs to get accomplished and what she needs to get done. And she gets them done, and she speaks up for herself. And so these are the things that I decided that I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And so what did that mean? I already had energetically decided I wanted to be those things. So once I had decided in my mind that I wanted to be those things, the world around me began to support that. I, number one, challenged myself. And I ask you, what are the things that you want to be? Who is the person that you want to be? The man, the woman, the they, the there. I'm sorry, I'm not best, like really, really good with like that, like where we are in society with that kind of stuff. But I know that's a thing, right? It's like, whoever, however you identify, whoever you are, right? What does that look like? That ideal being version of you, what does it look like? How do they carry themselves? Not necessarily what kind of job they have, but when you think about the kind of job they have, what kind of person do they need to be to have that job? If you're thinking about the kind of relationship you have, what kind of relationships what kind of relationship do you need to have? What kind of person do you need to be to have that kind of relationship? You want a loyal, faithful, honest relationship. Are you loyal, faithful, and honest? Right? You want a fun, exciting, rejuvenating relationship. Are you those things? Right? You want to be a CEO, but are you showing up as a CEO every day? And so when I had decided that that's what I wanted to do, that's who I wanted to be, the world around me started to support me. I started to notice that I would go out and I challenged myself. Sean, hold your head up. Sean, look people in the eye. Smile at random people. Give extra grace to the people who you're picking up an order from at Starbucks and Popeyes, and just be even more kind as you already are, but now let the world see it. See, I was already these things, but I didn't let the world see it. Only my very tight, intimate circle. And that actually is not fair of me to compartmentalize myself like that. It's not fair of me to not share it with the world like that. It's not fair of you to hold that space and not allow yourself to fully be it all the time as it is who you are. Don't let the world tell you, or your friends or your family tell you who the hell you have to be. We have these titles that we get as children, as young adults, and whatever, like whether you're told you're not beautiful, whether you're told you were an imbecile, unintelligent, whether you were told that you were lazy. Those titles, we don't have to hold on to them for our entire lives. You don't have to hold on to it for your entire life. You can release it at any moment. You can let it go at any moment. So I began to challenge myself. And this is a challenge I want to give you guys. And maybe this should be the pause for the cause for today. But this is the challenge I gave myself. I was someone who was always in relationships. Like I was always in long-term relationships. So this was really my first time being like single. And so I wanted to date more, right? And I knew that in order for me to date more, I needed to put myself out there more, right? And so I started to challenge myself. This is so funny, whatever. This is honest. I challenged myself. I said, I want to get better because I know the kind of man that I want, right? And the kind of man that I want, he wants a confident woman, right? I want to be a confident woman for myself, but I also know that that's who I need to be for the kind of person that I want to be with, right? So how can I work on my confidence? Someone whose confidence looks people dead in their eyes. And so I started to find little ways in my life to start being more confident. You don't just wake up one day and just do it. You find little ways. So one of my things was I wanted to get better with interacting with males. Just walking around the street, like making myself more approachable. I always felt like I wasn't approachable, only to like the riftity of the raftities. Like the ones who obviously had no chance, no shade, but the ones that had absolutely no chance were the ones who were always coming after me. I'm sure y'all can relate if y'all are women, and maybe even men as well. But I'm just saying, the ones who had no chance were always the ones that had nothing to lose and went for it every single time, right? No, I wanted to attract the men that actually had a chance with me. And so I needed to open up myself. I needed to open up my aura. I needed to open up my essence. Oh, child, this little angle making me look okay. There we go. It's a little better. And I just ate, y'all. I just had good breakfast. It was good. Anyway, if you're looking at the visuals. Anyway, I had to open up my aura, right? So to me, someone whose aura was more open, number one, they walked with their shoulders back. They walked with their head up high. They weren't looking down at their phones as they were. Now, I look at my phone still too, but I'm just saying I made a conscious decision to stop doing it as much. When I walk into a room, I put my phone in my pocket. I even started doing it when I was in elevators. Number one, the elevators didn't have any service, people. We're all looking at our phones, and we know damn well ain't no service on that elevator, baby. What you doing on your phone? You're doing nothing because you can't. So I started putting my phone in my pocket when I'm in elevators and just being present, being silent, allowing me and the other person in the elevator with me to just be in our presence together. And when maybe we interact, maybe we don't. When I get off of the elevator, have a good day. Right? Maybe not sometimes as well, right? Because I'm not going to say I do it every single time, but that's just like common courtesy to do, right? But sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, I might not do it. But not because I'm not trying to be courteous. I just literally just might not want to do it that day, right? But anyway, I started to do that. Another thing I did, okay, when it came to the male species, ladies, listen to me. I'm not going to lie, very attractive guys would look at me and I would look away. I would look away because I was nervous of them seeing me. And actually maybe even being interested in me. And I could feel it. I'm very gifted. I could feel it that they would be interested in me, but what would turn them off is the fact that I didn't feel confident. So what I started doing, I started challenging myself to look men in the eyes. And what demographic, what population did I do this with? Not with the man I thought was fine as hell. No, I didn't go to level 10. I didn't go to level 10 first. Y'all started level 1. I started with the guys that I thought was ugly. The men I did not find attractive were the men that I started looking at dead in their eyes first, right? Because I just wanted to practice getting comfortable with looking people in their eyes and also being seen. Being quiet, being shy, oftentimes is because you are scared to be seen. What are you scared that people are going to see? Your beauty? How amazing you are? Because I knew these things about me. So what was I scared to show the world? What was I scared to put my head up for? So that was one of my exercises. I literally started looking at ugly guys in the eyes just so I could get comfortable with the art of it. Right now, I've worked my way up to mid-range. I'm a work in progress, y'all. I don't have this shit all figured out. Now I'm at mid guys. Okay, so they might not be the finest of the fine, but they ain't the ugly ones I was looking at before. And ugly is relative, right? It's all about preference. I ain't saying that my ugly, everyone's ugly. My ugly might be your fine. So work within your parameters. But what I'm saying is I made the decision that I was going to be this more confident woman. And so then I began to open up my aura. When I began to open up my aura, you know what happened? Naturally, things started to float into my experience. For example, with dating, I have met more guys this year than I think I have met literally in my entire life. Because I simply decided to open up my aura and I challenged myself. You have to challenge yourself. You can't just say that you want something and then not make a change. You have to actually make the aligned movements to bring you to that thing that you want, that life that you say that you want, right? You want to be a CEO, you want to be a boss, right? You want a new job, but you're not applying for jobs. So if you want to reinvent, you have to actually reinvent. It's not only where you just sit and you pray about it, and that's it. You pray about it, it's presented to you, but you have to be the one to go out and get it. You got to be the one to act. When I say go out and get it, I mean like take those reins and go with that shit. So it wasn't enough to just say I want to be more of this, and I want to attract more guys, and I want to like be more confident, and I want to believe in myself more. I have to also challenge myself. What does someone who believes in themselves do? How does she show up? Okay, she's out making sure she's getting her money. That's definitely what she does, right? She's up filming this podcast, and she's got a whole apartment to pack, and she's gonna do them both. That's what someone who believes in themselves does. When it comes to your reinvention, you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be disciplined. We talked about in episode 1, right? And you allow the universe to bring the experiences to you, but you also have your part to play. You have your role to play. So I asked you guys here in this finale, and that's why this was important to me, because I had decided that I was going to fully step into what I'm calling my womanhood. Right now, I've been a pre-woman. This year, 29, this chapter 29, I just turned 28. So I'm now writing chapter 29 for the next 365 days. Chapter 29 is woman Sean. She is the Sean that speaks up for herself when things are not done right, because she doesn't give a fuck how it's going to inconvenience other people. Her needs need to get met. It's mine or yours, baby, and mine will get met. I said the last time, mine will get met. She's confident. She walks into a room and her presence is felt, right? She is capable of anything she puts her mind to. She's powerful. It's not even about being strong. She's powerful. She is kind. And I believe that the world needs more of that. So I'm okay with that. She's kind, but don't fuck with her. Okay, I'm sweet as pie, but you can also know don't fuck with me. And that's where that first one comes in, right? Where my knees gonna get me. Yeah. So I ask you, how are you reinvent? What do you want to reinvent about yourself? People do oftentimes around the New Year's. I'm always doing it, but I do like label every year of mine as something, like a year of something. And this is definitely my year of womanhood and becoming, and literally being, not even becoming, being that girl. We're not becoming, we are being that girl, that boy, that man, that woman, that person. It is time for you, my dear, to stop sleeping on you. It is time for you to release every title that no longer serves you. And anyone around you who doesn't understand the moves that you're making, doesn't understand why you're doing the things that you're doing, wants to disagree with them, wants to hold you back, they can fuck off. Because if you're worried about them being uncomfortable, let me give you a rude fucking awakening. You are uncomfortable, not them. They really don't matter. They are simply the reflection of you. I remember sitting and saying, but this person is going to be uncomfortable with me changing and they're going to feel small. I don't give a fuck if they feel small. I can't care. I can't care more about that. And at the end of the day, they probably don't even care, to be honest. It's just a thing I made up in my mind, even if it is real. That is also a projection of me and my own fears about what if I was to actually shine? What if I was to actually give it my all? What if I was to be this vulnerable? How will people perceive me? What will they think? How they perceive me is only up to them. I can't even control it. You can't even control it. So reinvent. Start that thing you wanted to start a year ago. Take it in baby steps. Reinvention doesn't happen overnight, but the actions do. The actions start right here, right now. All we have is the present. All we have is this moment right here. And every moment you're not going to be inspired. Every moment you won't have just watched this video that fills you up. So you have to find it within you to show up all the time, most of the time. How about that? Maybe you can't show up all the time. Show up most of the time. Show up more of the time. Show up more today than you did yesterday. Show up more next week than you did the week before. Evolution happens over time, but it is the step that you take today that makes the difference. So know that you can release, and you can release any old baggage of who other people thought you were, who you thought you had to be, You can release all of that, and you can now be who you really want to be and who you really actually are at your core. And it's fullness. Because let me say, there's always been that. I always was this, but just in my friend group. Now I'm her fully blossomed. Now I'm her all the way, all the time. There is no more compartmentalizing that brilliant part of you. There is no more. All right, that went into a full-on channel. But every time I am amazed, and you can expect even more of this in season 2. Season 1, you guys followed a lot about my journey to here, but this is the direction of season 2. It's not going to be so much about the little events, but how the fuck can we evolve together? What steps are we taking? How are we moving? Yeah, there are events that allow us to expand, but I'm not sitting in healing anymore. That's what this year is, the healed version of me. This is how she shows up. This is what she does. This is how she moves. So I challenge you this week, look people in the eyes. Start with the demographic that's not as intimidating, right? Okay, maybe you're scared to go on job interviews for this big position. Go for one that's small just to get yourself used to it. Do practice runs. Give yourself that. All right? As always, you can follow me on all my social media. It is all at Authentically Sean. I am so excited that you guys not only joined me today, but joined me for this season. If you watched all the other episodes, and if you haven't seen the others, you gotta watch them because they're all good. I am proud of me for showing up. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all don't give myself gratitude every time, as you should give yourself. I'm not sorry. I'm grateful. I'm proud of me for showing up, vulnerable and honest, and sharing my gifts with the world. And I'm proud of you for being here, for allowing yourself to expand. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, you've expanded. Either way, I brought you closer to your truth. Either way. I'm grateful to Spirit for talking with me, being with me. And we're going to do this thing. I will catch you guys in season 2. Again, don't forget, like, follow me on social media because I'm going to be definitely still posting content like this, just maybe not in long form. But definitely on Instagram too. I'll probably bringing back my lives, all that kind of stuff, while we're waiting on season 2 to get started. That chapter will definitely load in in a new space, and I'm excited about that. So I'm outie. This is the end of season 2. I mean season 1. Bye. Love you guys.